speaking of money, let's go to Joe Budden. So we did a topic, what was it, last week? Talking about all them numbers that hit the internet for Joe and the Joe Budden podcast, on track to make what is it, like 20 million this year? Some crazy number. The Patreon was a couple $100,000 a month or something, right? And I was like, yo, be careful. The verbs is gonna come now, man, because you got these numbers on deck. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, be careful. And then we started talking about, at least from the article, I don't know the podcast members and the co-hosts actual contracts, right? They could be more, they could be less than the numbers we broke down, but we saw in the article a set number for employees, and then we divided that based on the whole. So we said, all right, they're making that amount of money. It's not a 5-day-a-week job. Plus they got other avenues that can take that into. Seem fair, seem like a fair salary. But just as fast as I'm out here saying, like, yo, Joe, the A-verbs is going to be turning your direction heavy now. These numbers is going around. Sometimes you got to look no further than what's next to you. And I'm not trying to say he got internal beef like that, but you best believe, unless you're being naive, somebody in that room feels away. I don't know who. No clue. I'm not even trying to guess right now. I ain't going there. But there's somebody in that room that feels away about what they getting paid. You better believe that shit, man.
I think we need a 50% raise based on the amount of time we put in. Actually, whatever you get, I think we should get 50% more. Can we all agree on that?
I agree, because we actually are producers too. 80, 90K isn't a lot.
It's not bad though. Especially if we're hypothetically speaking about someone who works half days, 2 days a week.
Are we talking about Rolex owners?
The obvious thing would be not being mentioned in the co-host thing. There's a side of me that would want to be offended by it.
If we do 12 hours a week of showtime, then we watch 12 hours, that's 24.
You have to. It's not always done though.
And then when we
like to think that everyone goes home.
I know that everyone does that.
And I'm not ODing there. There's some serious conversation that's happening there, and you could even pick up on other elements. A detail that goes by there that it didn't go over my head was even the adding up of the work hours. Somebody in the room, for example, says it's a 12-hour work week. And then somebody else counters that and says, no, we work for 12 hours, but then we also need to watch 12 hours of footage. That's 24. Once you start adding up the hours and you're looking at those bottom line numbers, 80, 90,000, how many days or how many hours per week, etc. And who knows? I don't know even the mechanics and the process behind the scenes of all the co-hosts of how they work with the podcast. You got the traveling, you got the time spent, you got the creation of the content, you got promotion. You got all these different pieces that somebody can justify they are bringing to the table. I never want to try to detract from that, ever, right? You're worth what you're worth. But once you see this happening, Joe, people are talking about not being mentioned as co-hosts in certain outlets, right? Or not getting production credits, but possibly being producers. Now you're even talking about different types of category that would have certain claims to the overall job. Well, I'm a producer. You know what a producer is supposed to establish when it comes to a piece of content? I'm supposed to have royalties or 40%. And these are smart people up there on the Joe Budden podcast. That's one of the reasons why it's a good show. There's no dummies up there. And that's why I say clearly, if you think nobody in that room is having some disgruntled thoughts, whether they're telling you or not. I think you already had the contract dispute that they made public and they turned into content with Joe and Flip, right? I don't know if there's been any other contract related talk. Was there one with Ish? I feel like there was one with Ish too. But a contract is supposed to be a contract, right? They lose lawyers from both their own sides, which is dope to see. Good business. Meaning Joe Budden has his legal side of the house, and then the co-hosts have their legal lawyers. They put the lawyers together. They remove the friend moment, and they do business. They get the contracts done. They get the agreements done, and then we all come back together as a family. That's dope. That I didn't do that in RBE. Nobody in RBE ever had a contract with me. I'm keeping it 1,000 ever. We had agreements. Agreements hold up in court. Your word can be used in court. He told me he would give me half of the company in this text message, or even the conversation. That'll hold up if proven true, right? It doesn't always have to be on paper when you get to court, but the fact that they do the back and forth between lawyers and contract and everything, that's the right thing to do. And then also, there's a lot of money on the table. There's a lot of money on the table. So we got to make sure that this is situated the right way. Everybody understands what they're here to do, what their requirements are, what their responsibilities are. You saw with me and Sean, when I interviewed Sean like a week and a half ago, right? He said, I was annoyed early on when we first started working at your contract. Fast forward, now that I'm doing it, now I understand. You see what Sean said that, right? Yeah, we fuck with each other. We bump into each other, this regular man-to-man shit. But if we do business, some of the shit might be annoying because I don't want the gray area in business. I don't want you to come up to me and say, I thought it was 200, not 20. Whoa, that's a big fucking problem. That's a big misunderstanding between us right now. You know what I'm saying? So the contracts is required. We got to stop doing ghetto business and do more official business, me included, right? But it's funny too, because outside of like RBE members and co-owners and shit, almost every other area of my life, I've used contracts and shit. But anyway, it's there. And if it's not affecting how their work habits or their energy or their vibe is right now, if the seed is there, it will grow. That's just how it goes. That's human nature. Because the Joe Budden Podcast, we don't look at it and say that it's going to possibly decline as far as the numbers that's being reported publicly. We see them growing, which is dope. The Patreon membership ain't going to get cut in half for 2026. It's going to get new Patreon subscriptions, even if it's just another couple hundred or whatever. It's just the numbers are going up. The views are going up. The work, the quality, everything continues to get better and better over time, just like the production around the podcast. They're talking about, we reported that they're looking to get a new space, maybe own a new space. These are all enhancements. Things are going up. So if things are going up, I look at my contract and I say, how much money per month? I don't know about me making $80,000 a year. I don't give a fuck, even if it is a 12-hour work week. It's there. It's in the room. So shout out to everybody. I'm not even saying that that's a negative thing. I don't even want to come off like, yo, if anybody got that feeling, yo, watch out. They about to stab you in the back. I'm not even saying that. That's not even what I'm on. I'm just saying, once numbers start getting talked about like that, pocket watching happens at different levels. There's the highest level of pocket watching, which is tied to hate. There's also pocket watching at a lower level, which is just tied to like accounting, right? Like if I understand what he makes, I might be able to understand market value for myself. Okay. If this house right here is $5 million, they call them comps in real estate. The house next to it with comparable specs probably is going to be worth a similar range. That's how it goes. And people use other people to even try to determine what they can or should make. The should is where people make a lot of mistakes. He made it, so I should make it. Not necessarily, motherfucker. A little business and working amongst friends and family talk right there, but it's there.